Top 10 stars who refused roles that changed history. Imagine turning down a role that would go on to make over $2 billion, win multiple Academy Awards, and define an entire generation of cinema. Now imagine doing it because you thought the script was too dark. One actor on this list did exactly that, and they're not alone. Today, we're counting down the 10 most shocking moments when Hollywood legends said no thanks to roles that would become iconic, and the behind-the-scenes reasons will blow your mind. Some of these decisions haunted careers forever, while others, ironically, saved them. Stick around for number 1, because that rejection literally changed the course of film history. In Hollywood, timing is everything. But sometimes what seems like a terrible idea on paper becomes a cultural phenomenon, and what looks like a guaranteed hit becomes a forgotten flop. The actors you're about to hear about faced impossible choices, trusted their instincts, or made decisions they'd regret for decades. These aren't just missed opportunities. These are the sliding door moments that reshaped cinema as we know it. Let's dive in. 10th. Will Smith, The Matrix, Neo. We're starting strong. Before Keanu Reeves became the face of The Matrix, Will Smith was offered the role of Neo. This was 1997, and Smith was riding high after Independence Day and Men in Black. The Wachowskis flew out to meet him personally and pitched their vision, complete with early concept art and storyboards. But here's the kicker: Smith didn't understand it. In later interviews, he admitted he couldn't wrap his head around the philosophical sci-fi elements. Instead, he chose to star in Wild Wild West, which became one of the biggest box office bombs of 1999. Meanwhile, The Matrix grossed over $460 million worldwide, spawned a franchise, and became a defining film of the late 90s. Smith has since called it one of his biggest career regrets, but he's also said Keanu was born for that role. Still, imagine the alternate timeline. But that's just the beginning. 9th. Michelle Pfeiffer. The Silence of the Lambs' Clarice Starling. Before Jodie Foster delivered one of the most iconic performances in thriller history, Michelle Pfeiffer was the first choice for Clarice Starling. Pfeiffer was already a major star thanks to the fabulous Baker Boys and Batman Returns. But when she read the script for The Silence of the Lambs, she found the material too disturbing. She later admitted in interviews that the darkness of the story, especially the violence and psychological horror, made her uncomfortable. She passed. Jodie Foster stepped in, won the Academy Award for Best Actress, and the film won Best Picture. It became a cultural touchstone and launched an entire genre of intelligent psychological thrillers. Pfeiffer has expressed respect for Foster's performance, but acknowledged the role would have been a career-defining moment. The irony? She went on to play darker roles later in her career, proving sometimes timing and mindset are everything. And speaking of iconic roles that almost went to someone else. 8th. Sean Connery, The Lord of the Rings, Gandalf. Yes, you read that right. Sean Connery, the original James Bond, was offered the role of Gandalf in Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings trilogy. He was reportedly offered 10% of the worldwide box office revenue, which would have earned him close to $400 million. So why did he say no? Connery admitted he didn't understand the script. He read it multiple times and still couldn't grasp the story or the character. He turned it down, and Ian McKellen took the role, delivering a performance that became legendary. Connery later said in interviews that he regretted the decision, not just financially, but because he realized he'd misjudged the material. The lesson here? Sometimes you don't need to understand everything. You just need to trust the vision. But wait until you hear who almost played one of the most beloved characters in modern cinema. 7th. John Travolta, Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump. This one stings. John Travolta was director Robert Zemeckis' first choice to play Forrest Gump. Travolta read the script and liked it, but he was already committed to Pulp Fiction, which was filming around the same time. He chose Quentin Tarantino's project, and Tom Hanks stepped into the role of Forrest. Forrest Gump went on to win 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Actor for Hanks. It grossed over $678 million, and became one of the most quoted films of all time. Travolta has said publicly that he has no regrets because Pulp Fiction revived his career, and he's right. That film also became iconic. But still, imagine Travolta delivering the life is like a box of chocolates line. It's almost impossible to picture now, which shows how much actors shape the roles they inhabit. And if you think that's surprising, just wait. Sixth, Gwyneth Paltrow, Titanic. Rose DeWitt Bukater. Before Kate Winslet immortalized Rose in Titanic, Gwyneth Paltrow was heavily considered for the role. James Cameron reportedly met with her multiple times, and there was serious interest on both sides. However, Paltrow ultimately passed because she felt the film's scale and commitment would be overwhelming. At the time, Titanic was notorious for its troubled production, massive budget overruns, and grueling shooting schedule. Paltrow chose smaller, more manageable projects instead. Kate Winslet took the role and became a global superstar overnight. Titanic became the highest-grossing film of all time until Avatar, also directed by Cameron. Paltrow went on to win an Oscar for Shakespeare in Love, so her career didn't suffer. But Titanic was a once-in-a-lifetime, cultural phenomenon that defined the late 90s. But the next entry involves a superhero franchise that would change Hollywood forever. Fifth, Tom Cruise. Iron Man, Tony Stark. Before Robert Downey Jr. became synonymous with Tony Stark, Tom Cruise was in serious talks to play Iron Man. This was in the early 2000s, back when Marvel was still trying to figure out how to launch its cinematic universe. Cruise loved the character and was genuinely interested, but the deal fell apart over creative control and financial terms. Cruise wanted more control over the script and direction, and Marvel wasn't willing to give it. Robert Downey Jr. was eventually cast, a decision many considered risky at the time due to his personal struggles. But Downey transformed Tony Stark into one of the most beloved characters in modern cinema, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe became the highest-grossing film franchise in history. Cruise went on to continue the Mission Impossible series, but Iron Man wasn't just a role. It was the foundation of a multi-billion-dollar empire, and the intensity only increases from here. Fourth, Julia Roberts. The Blind Side, Leanne Toohey. This one's fascinating because it flips the script on what we think we know. Julia Roberts was originally attached to play Leanne Toohey in The Blind Side, the real-life woman who took in future NFL star Michael Oher. Roberts was passionate about the project, but the deal collapsed due to salary negotiations and scheduling conflicts. Sandra Bullock stepped in, delivered a powerhouse performance, and won the Academy Award for Best Actress. The film grossed over $300 million and became a cultural phenomenon, sparking conversations about race, privilege, and family. Roberts has never publicly expressed regret, but industry insiders have said she was disappointed when the deal fell through. It's a reminder that even A-list stars can't always make the pieces fit. But the final three entries are on another level entirely. Third, Al Pacino, Star Wars, Han Solo. Yes, before Harrison Ford became Han Solo, Al Pacino was offered the role. George Lucas wanted a big name to anchor the original Star Wars trilogy, and Pacino was one of the biggest stars in the world after The Godfather. But Pacino turned it down, later saying he didn't understand the script and thought the space opera genre was too far outside his wheelhouse. Harrison Ford took the role and became a legend. Star Wars became the most successful franchise in film history, and Han Solo became one of the most iconic characters ever created. Pacino went on to deliver incredible performances in films like Dog Day Afternoon and Scarface, so his career was hardly damaged. But he's admitted in interviews that he sometimes wonders what might have been. It's one of the great what-ifs of cinema history. And now we're down to the final two. Second, Leonardo DiCaprio, American Psycho, Patrick Bateman. This might be the most controversial entry on the list. In the late 90s, Leonardo DiCaprio was attached to play Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. The project had massive buzz, and director Mary Harron was excited to work with him, but creative differences emerged. DiCaprio's team wanted changes to the script, and there were concerns about the film's graphic violence affecting his Titanic image. DiCaprio eventually dropped out, and Christian Bale took the role for a fraction of the salary. Bale delivered a chilling, career-defining performance, and American Psycho became a cult classic that's still dissected and quoted today. DiCaprio went on to work with Martin Scorsese and win an Oscar, so his career trajectory was fine, but many cinephiles still wonder how his version of Bateman would have played out. It remains one of the great casting what-ifs. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Emily Blunt, Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff. Iron Man 2, here's the most shocking entry on this list. Emily Blunt was cast as Black Widow in Iron Man 2. Contracts were signed. The deal was done. But due to a scheduling conflict with Gulliver's Travels, a film she was contractually obligated to finish, she had to drop out. Scarlett Johansson stepped in, and the rest is history. Black Widow became one of the most iconic characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, appearing in 9 films and leading her own solo movie. The role made Johansson one of the highest-paid actresses in the world and turned her into a global superstar. Blunt has said she was heartbroken to leave the project, and that Gulliver's Travels was a film she wasn't even passionate about. It's a brutal reminder that sometimes contract fine print can change the course of your entire career. Blunt's career flourished with films like Edge of Tomorrow and A Quiet Place, but she missed out on being part of the biggest franchise in film history. And there you have 10 stars who walked away from roles that became legendary, for reasons ranging from creative differences to simple bad timing. Some of these actors have publicly expressed regret, while others have said things worked out exactly as they should. But one thing is certain: these decisions altered the landscape of modern cinema forever. So here's my question for you. If you could go back in time and convince one actor on this list to take the role they refused, who would it be and why? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's biggest what-ifs, smash that like button, subscribe for more film history breakdowns, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.